I'm an intuitive health medium, and I can see where people have trauma or stress energetically trapped and how it manifests into illness on the physical body. And I figured today being Valentine's Day, no better day than to talk about the heart. So, first, I'm going to start with the energy deficit of love. When you are lacking in not only self love, but just love in general, the most common behavior that I see is this person now gives love for free. They've lost sight of setting boundaries, they've lost sight of saying no, and if they have to say no, they feel guilty. So what happens is they vibrate on all these energy vampires that are now going to take advantage of them. They basically vibrate toxicity because they don't know how to protect their energy, and it makes them almost kind of like a victim of their own behavior because they're vibrating out all this love for free, and which causes also lack of self-worth, because when you give something away for free, it loses value. And that's true for the heart energy. When you give it away for free, the person that accepts it because they didn't have to work for it, they're no longer seeing your self-worth, which is why they start taking advantage of you. And which is why it's important to set boundaries, because it allows people to see what you're worth. Well, what happens is if people start giving away this love for free, they now have this significant energy deficit in their heart, and they start comfort eating in an effort to fill that energy void. Comfort eating is one of the most common reactive behaviors I see when someone's suffering in an energy deficit in the heart. But what happens is they're comfort eating. It becomes a very, very hard cycle to break because they do feel loved at the time when they're eating that comfort food, which gives the brain the signal that they're being loved, and it creates a habit that they get to a point where they're comfort eating. They don't even realize it, and it's all being redirected back to the heart in an energy deficit for love. Now, another reactive behavior that I see that's exact opposite usually comes from when a person is in an abusive relationship where they're being verbally abused, emotionally abused, or not being emotionally supported. They block their heart completely, and literally in their energy, their heart feels numb. Now, what happens is the physical body starts to tense up, and there's like stress. So they start to shallow breathe, and they don't breathe like long, consistent, like flowing breaths. But also the fascia tissue in this area, which is a thin layer between the skin and the muscles, that starts to shrink. And so now they're tight in the chest because in most cases they're walking on eggshells and they're tiptoeing around people because they're trying to avoid being more like traumatized or harmed in the heart energy, and their heart's blocked. So it's like a wall, and then physically this all tightens up. Well, what happens is as that fascia tissue starts to shrink, it pulls the shoulders forward, and it creates tension and pain and neck issues as well. The neck issues, of course, also are trapped trauma and emotions in the throat because they're walking on eggshells. They're not comfortable speaking their truth, which of course connects to the heart. They're lacking in confidence, so they have a hard time expressing themselves in voice. So these two kind of come together, and all the fascia tissue starts to pull forward, and it pulls their shoulders forward. And over a long period of time, in living in an abusive environment where the heart is being blocked and it's in a numb state, the person will start to slouch and they'll start to drop their shoulders forward, which over time it puts almost like a bump in their back, and they'll start to get scoliosis in their spine. Now, the last behavior that I see, and this almost always connects with somebody who lost a loved one traumatically. So we're talking like a car accident. They dropped from a heart attack. They had a stroke, something where they didn't have time to prepare. It's like an unexpected loss. They become extremely controlling, and it's a reactive behavior to that severe loss. Or I've also seen it in people who've lost a lot of loved ones in a short period of time. They start controlling and micromanaging like everything in their environment, which to some people it can make them intolerable. But what's happening is they're trying to maintain a sense of control to block the sense of loss and the fear of losing more. And I do see this often with money, with people who go through tumultuous divorces and they lose all their money. They become very controlling with money. So in a sense, when someone suffers significantly with a severe loss, the behavior that comes from that is an intense control. And usually their need to control will almost kind of like energetically match the suffering that they had in that state of loss. Now, that's just one of the 7 primary chakras, and how we energetically react to that stress and trauma, that's what imprints like in the energy, and over time, and being that reactive behavior, it'll manifest into illness. So when you have those habits and behaviors, or you have chronic illness or chronic symptoms, pay attention to them, because you most likely have trapped trauma and stress within your energy body.